listen, I didn't say how to make 500 bucks a month. I didn't say how to make some money. I said how to be a top earner. So the advice that is about to come is assuming that's a serious question you're asking yourself. And so you got to decide that. I have my most comprehensive course I've ever created. It's called the 4P method. And in the 4P method, I break down the 4Ps. I break down pipeline, posture, position, perspective. Those are the four most important components of becoming a top earner in your company. And so it's not just, Ray, I sent the video to 100 people. Well, how did you send it? How did you position it? Did they ask for it? Were they ready for it? Because you could send 1 million copies out, and if none of those people are properly positioned, you're probably not going to get any results. Is it true that people who don't answer when we're following up, that they're just not interested in our product or opportunity? That's definitely too broad of a thing to say. Yeah, that's for me to say, yep, that's true. Are some of them not interested? Sure. But why aren't they? It may be because they don't see value. It may be that you've approached them in a way that turned them off. Think about it. We've met people that had things we wanted, but we decided to go somewhere else. We got the wrong vibe. We can send off the wrong vibe. Vibe is short for vibration, right? We can send off the wrong vibe. We can be too eager, aggressive, pushy, annoying. Like we can be a lot of things that will actually lose a sale than make the sale. You want to get sharp with that. You want to get good at inviting, get good at understanding that you're just asking people if they're open to taking a look at what you got. That's really what you're doing. Now, I would say if I had to boil it down to one question, if I had to boil it down to one question, to if you're on the path to be a top earner in your company, it would be this. How many people last week did you ask if they were open to your product, service, or opportunity? How many people last week did you ask if they were open to your product, service, or opportunity? That's if I had to boil it down, that's the number one question. If you're at single digits, you're not on the path to top earner. Now, that doesn't mean you can't build a business. Doesn't mean you can't make $100. Doesn't mean you can't get a sale here and there. Doesn't mean you can't maybe cover your hobby, but you're not on the path. You're just not. Now, those of you in Rank Makers, okay, you should have a pretty high number for this because you're in my April prospecting challenge. Today alone, we have Rank Makers reaching out to 24 people. Today alone, one day, 24 people, right? But if you don't have a pipeline, if you're not reaching out to people consistently, how can you be upset at the result? How can you be upset about that? When I was a Reese Aholic for most of my life, my mom knew, my wife knew, everybody knew that I was a Reese Aholic. Okay, what's a Reese Aholic? A Reese Aholic is someone who, no matter how much Reese cups you get them in whatever denomination, in whatever size, they finish it in one sitting. So like, my mom would get me like this rabbit, this Reese's peanut butter rabbit, and it would be like heavy, 2 to 2.5 pounds. Finish it one Reeseaholic. My wife, for many birthdays, Easters, Valentine's Day, she'd get me a tray of Reese, either footballs or Reese Christmas trees or Reese Easter eggs or the pumpkins. You know what I'm talking about? The pumpkins. I don't know why, but I really like this. And so, I wiped the whole thing out. Reeseaholic. So when I was a Reeseaholic, how could I be upset at my pudginess? I'd be upset at my jowl, right? That doesn't make any sense. Dumb. If I'm a Reeseaholic, then that pudginess is well deserved. If I'm not prospecting anybody, then my very minimal downline is well deserved. I've earned it, right? So first, get that straight in your mind. But let's go back. I want to finish that conversation. So talking with Dion this morning, we talk every morning. It's a good practice we have every morning, 10 a.m. We get on and we go over stats. We go over any kind of issues we're seeing. We go over strategy. Usually it's quick meeting. And he's like, all right, how do we help people get into their second and third generations? And I'm like, well, we got some promisers, right? Not holding my breath on those. We got some dabblers. They're growing slowly, just mainly personally. And then we got a runner, and she's already got people that's had results and everything. And so I'm very close with the runner. I'm paying close attention to her and just making sure I'm there for her. But know that we already got people, in there. And what I have to do is keep the pedal down for at least the next, I say 2 weeks, but I to keep the pedal down until we're locating and we got enough runners that me focusing on them makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean I'll ever take my foot completely off the pedal of me putting things in the marketplace to bring new blood in. That should be you too. That should be you too. And so the 4Ps are pipeline, posture, position, perspective. Perspective is where a lot of your velocity is actually captured. You would think it's pipeline. It's actually perspective, where you spend the majority of your time in your mind. And so, so he's like, I get it. See, he thought, like a lot of people, that when you once you get a bunch of frontline, which we got hundreds and hundreds of frontline, once you get a bunch of frontline, then you just tie in with them and help them get their, no. You see who in your frontline is actually going to do anything. Some it's not their right time, some are busy, some they'll never do anything. And so you trying to force them to get a check is almost always a waste of time. And in fact, you can very easily chase people off if you do that. So if you bring in people frontline and then you go to them and you're like, hey, how can I help you? How can I help you? And they're like, I'm kind of busy. I'm not sure I got time. You can actually create a scenario where your pressure on them makes them feel like a disappointment and they quit. So you got to love them where they are. You got to be available to them, right? One of them reaches out. I'm like, hey man, I'm here for you. Let me help. But you got to see what they do. You got to see what they do. Help them everywhere you can. And leaders, I want to give you this idea. So those of you on here that have influence on social media and you've built to a level where you've hit the top rank or whatever. I did something today I thought was fun, where I told the ambassadors, this is an idea for you leaders. Now, I wouldn't do this if you got a few scragglers in your team, but if you're a leader and you got a large organization, I think this actually makes sense. So I went to the ambassadors, all of them in the company, and I said, hey, I'm going to do a live, I'm going to do a 15-day update about the company, and I'm not going to give out a link for people, to join the 5-day free trial. But if you're on there, I'm going to do some calls to action for you to let people know you're an ambassador, and then people can connect with you. So I have, right, a marketing influence, right? And so I take, which a lot of people don't have. And so I'm taking my marketing influence and creating possibilities, for those people. If you have marketing influence and you have a very substantial team, that's pretty cool. Now, if you're a new person, this isn't your play. You don't do that play. Doesn't make sense. You need all the frontline that you can get. But some of you are on here that you don't need the front line. And so make it easy for your people. And oh, by the way, as people start tuning into your social media, you actually expand. So you do get a form of a payoff. You start to get more views on your videos. You start to have more reach. So just a thought, just an idea. I mean, you could do that if you, depending on your comp plan, you could do that with like certain people, right? You could invite certain people to do that, or just your frontline or whatever, right? And so the key takeaway so far, at least, is for you to become a top earner, you need to be bringing new blood in all the time. And do not fall into the trap of saying, well, I'm just going to bring in really good people. You hope for that. You want that. But the problem is it's not a demographic. It's a psychographic. It's a, where are they psychological? Where are they psychologically? Because you can get an amazing, connected, influential person that this just isn't their priority. But you could get someone who maybe isn't that influential on social media, but is super connected in their local community, that is hungry, and that's your perfect person. That's the person that blows the doors off. So it's not just about, let me get influencers. It's, how do I make everyone feel welcome, but how do I pay attention and spend more time with those that are actually running, not talking? We talked all about the promisers. Now, if you are consistently reaching out to people, and I would say if you're doing at least 5 reach outs a day, and you're not getting any results, it's your approach. I don't believe you can reach out to 30, 35 people a week and do that for more than a few weeks and not get any results. There's some kind of problem. Now, what happens, what I see all the time, literally all the time, is I'll say this kind of thing and someone will say, well, I'm using your scripts, Ray. And I'm like, okay, show me your screens. Show me some screenshots. Every single time I have ever done that with somebody, they show their screenshots, they're not using my scripts. They're either, they learned this thing from Frazier, and they learned this thing from Eric, and they learned this thing from me, and they mixed in their own thing, and they whirled it around, and then they threw it on in their social media DMs. And so it's in your approach. Now, it's easy. If you're not reaching out to anyone, then you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, that's pretty easy to diagnose. Don't need a medical degree for that. But if you're reaching out to consistently 5 people plus a day and you're not getting any results, there's something in your approach. There's something in there. You're probably saying too much. You're probably out of position. So position, one of the 4Ps, where is the prospect? Where are they? Not where are you? Because hopefully you're fired up. Hopefully you love your company and it's amazing and you're all in, but where are they? See, most people aren't ready to buy. They're not ready to join. They're not ready to make money with you. They need more information. They need to see what's in it for me. They need to understand, why would I do this thing? They need more information. But if you're leading with the lead or the link or the this or the that, or if you're going too soon and you're too eager, then a lot of times you're going to have someone shoot you down that might have actually been open. And so one of the most powerful energies that you can have is just have the energy of, I'm just going to see who's open, not I'm going to try to close everyone. Don't try to close everyone. No one does, by the way. I over the years, I've recruited a lot of really good recruiters. They don't close everybody, no matter what they tell you. If I had to guess, they probably close about 30%. A really good closer will close about 30%. It's kind of like baseball, right? If you hit 3 out of 10 pitches, you go to the Hall of Fame. You do that consistently, you go to the Hall of Fame. It's very similar. Now, I've met people that close 10% that are top earners. So it's not like you're paid by percentage, but I've seen those who have really studied the art of psychology and sales can get like 30%. That's what I've seen. Nobody closes 100%. No one I've ever met, even despite what they promise you or try to sell you. And so instead of trying to close everyone, just see who's open. That's it. So my approach is, hey, are you open to take a look at what it is that I'm doing? If you are, great. If not, no big deal. And so I want to cover, this is one of the common sabotages that people have. I deal with lack of confidence of helping others succeed. It's not about you. It's not about you. Has anyone in your company ever created success that you didn't mentor? Then that means that it's not about you. Has anyone ever gotten a result that you didn't personally administer their dosage or whatever you call it? Of course, it's not about you. It's about the system. It's about the product. It's about the system. It's about the service, it should never be dictated by one individual. It shouldn't be like, well, if you're with this upline, you're going to really struggle in this upline really easy. It shouldn't be like that. It should be a system that you guys follow. And so this is the chicken before the egg scenario. So if someone says, I just don't have confidence to help anyone, then you're going to sabotage ever trying to help anyone. So you'll never actually get better at helping anyone. And so it's this vicious loop that you're in. Instead, say, is it possible that even if I completely suck, that I introduce someone to this and they decide to run with it? Yeah, that's possible. Has anyone ever done that in company history? Has anyone ever succeeded without my intervention? Oh, they have. Well, maybe, just maybe, one, I'm gonna get better the more people I talk to and introduce to the company. And two, there's gonna be some people that run whether I help them or not. I'm gonna do my best, but they're gonna run whether I help them or not. And here's what you'll find is the runners are people that will succeed even if you give them bad information. You can tell the wrong link and somehow they'll show up. You can tell them the wrong things to say and somehow they'll make it work. Because when someone actually makes the decision to become a top earner, they become a top earner. They do. They go there. And so it can't be, let me wait until I'm really good to bring anyone in so that I can get really good, because that's not going to help. That's not going to help anyone. You'll never get there.